This is a Flying Cow production.
Well, hello and welcome to the Flying Cow live stream. I am, of course, the Flying Cow himself, Clay Johnson, Cowdog Teddy in the background. He's not going to say hello. He won't. But I do have another co-host with me, Megan McCurley, Dr. Megs herself. Megan, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I was just thinking back when you asked me to come on here, how long it's actually been since I've done something like this, pretty much since the last movie battles. So I've definitely missed it and was excited when I heard that you were doing these and wanted to have me on. So
yeah. You know, I mean, like right now, we're only doing it once a month. I'd love to do it a little bit more, but right now, it just kind of perfectly fits into that time frame where I don't have another show prepped to go out. It's kind of a nice extra show to throw out there. Plus, as I mentioned last time, the live streams are easy because I literally just press play or go live, which can be hard sometimes, apparently.
It can, yes.
But just press go live and then we talk and then that's it. I don't have to edit or I really don't even have to prep.
Easy peasy.
It's
great. For sure.
I have to be like, well, I think we can talk about this. And I will say today we do have some things that we're going to talk about. I will say though, just so that everyone is aware, if you've been keeping up, you know. If you don't, then I'll catch you up. I am a little sick. I'm getting over a cold. I warned Megan before we started, in case I start, hawking up a lung. It's fine. I've been eating a little bit, so once I'm done with that, I'll pop a cough drop, and usually that covers it pretty well. So beyond that, everything is going well, but I do want to quickly, kind of mention something that's in the title of this episode. Because when I was thinking about, I was like, well, definitely we're going to talk about channel updates. And I was like, well, what else are we going to talk about? And I'm not saying this is going to be a big, long subject, but anybody that clicked on this and was like, that's a weird title. I just want to see what's going on. What did I find in my candy? Well, let me tell you a little story.
Story time with Clay.
Yeah, that's why we're here, right?
There we go.
Oh, first of all, I just want to mention we got Brian Nussbaum in the chat. Mad Dog himself. Brian, great to hear. Yeah, only been 2 episodes. We're going to talk actually more about the flashbacks in just a little bit. But thanks for that, Brian. Good to see you in the chat. But I do want to go ahead and just talk about this situation. So, anyway, today, having a little bit of a rough day. And I had to leave early because I had to deal with a situation with work. And I realized that I was going to actually get to work early. So I was like, you know what? You know what would be a nice pick-me-up? Let me just stop at a gas station along the way. Let me just buy myself a soda and a nice candy bar. That'll be a nice little way to, it's just kind of nice to treat yourself to something like that, right? So I go in and I get I get a squirt, which I actually quite like. Squirt. It's a grapefruit soda for anybody. I mean, I understand for some people out there the title can be a little suggestive. I'm sure they didn't think about that when they named it. Just gonna say, but moving past that, I was looking for a candy. and I see some Rolos, and right on top of it, I see. Have you ever had Rolos, Mix?
I have. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, one of the most nostalgic candies from my childhood. I guarantee that if my father ever just went into a gas station and came out and with a candy, it was probably Rolos.
Okay.
Just nice little chocolate with the caramel center, nice little pick-me-up. And then right next to it, right on top, they had the salted caramel special edition. I've had those a couple of times. They're pretty good. So I was like, that'd be nice. So I pick up one of those. I will say, I picked up one and the package was a little open. So I was like, well, I'm not going to get that one.
Obviously.
So I put that. I grabbed another one, checked it, looked good, looked clean. Go, pay for it. And I'm like, all right. I sit in my car and I'm driving. I'm on my way. I start to open up my Rolo and I see a little weird looking dust on my thumb. And I'm like, why is there dust on my thumb? And then I slightly turn my thumb around and I see a little worm type creature crawling on my thumb.
Oh.
As you can imagine, I did not stop and take a picture or anything like that. So I didn't get a picture of that. I just quickly was like, get off my thumb.
Yeah.
But then I looked at my Rolos and found that there was more going on. In fact, I ended up sending a tweet because I don't know if you can see from here, but there was some little etchings from the worm. And then if you open it up, there's that. And there's a little bit of a pupa right here. And some other leavings and trails. And all in the candy. So I reached out to everyone's favorite lawyer friend, the litigator Lauren Collins.
There you go.
And he advised me, not really much as far as like suits or anything, but customer service at the very least. So he said, make a tweet. So I did. As you can see, I tagged both Hershey's and BP, and you can see my at handle right here. So anybody that's watching, listening, feel free to go to my handle at Flying Cow. That's my personal handle, not the show handle. But you can feel free to retweet that tweet and just kind of let Hershey's and BP know that we don't like maggots in our food.
They're not good.
As you see from the tweet, I found at least 3. I only got a picture of the one in pupil stage. Yeah. So let's get the word out to Hershey's and BP. No more maggots in our Rolos.
No. Now, I will say there are certain delicacies that involve things of that nature, but it is specifically processed for that.
Yes.
It's not an addition.
No.
That's no good.
You know what? I often do like a little bit of protein with my sweets. That was not what I wanted, though.
No, not the variety of protein that you would want with that type of sweet or anything of that nature.
I don't need them to throw that in. I can pick my own protein. Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you very much, Hershey's.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so there's that. Some very interesting stuff. A little hello from Chris Diaz. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Great to see you in the chat.
And
don't forget to retweet my tweet. Maggot-free Rolos for all.
Yes. I had a semi-similar issue. I had a box of, I had ordered in a box of a variety pack of chips.
Mm-hmm.
Had them sitting in my office, didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Realized that when I went in and opened the box, that there were a few that had kind of gotten opened a little bit. And through the time of them sitting in that particular storage area, an ant civilization had begun to grow. So basically, we had to remove the entire box with all of the bags, and it was pretty much a waste of all of those. But it was my fault for leaving them in a specific area. So it wasn't anything that I had to go up in arms about the company with, but just a reminder of don't leave stuff like that laying around, because certain things will find their way into them.
Well, and I will say, you can even see on one of the pictures, if you blow it up, I don't know if you can do it on Twitter, but if you blow up one of the pictures, you will see that the expiration date for that was not until June. So it hadn't been sitting around that long.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem.
But yeah. Like I said, we do have some other things to discuss. First topic of discussion, mainly just, to address it, to kind of get it out of the way. I think I mentioned even on the last live stream, that Movie Battles had not yet started. At that time, I did have full intention to do, if not a whole scene, at least part of a season, to keep things going. Unfortunately, I have just realized, as I have, taken on more projects and done more things, that coupled with the fact that I do Movie Battles all by myself is just, it's really hard to do. And I'm in no way saying that we're not bringing Movie Battles back at some point, but I am officially announcing that at least for this year, Movie Battles will be on hiatus. Now, there is every possibility that I might do at least one match, because there were some outstanding championship challenges, things like that. But it will probably be simplified. Won't be much, but I might see if we can put something together. Honestly, right now, what I really want to focus on with Movie Battles, if I do anything with Movie Battles, is just kind of building it up so that it can be, number one, a little less work for me, and number two, with that, a little more self-sufficient. So I would be more working on things like getting more questions written, seeing who can help with things like that and things like that. And also, I will say moving to StreamYards has helped, because it has helped a little bit with production. I can do a lot more things, before the episode and during the episode, so that will eliminate a little bit of editing time. But still, it's a little too much to be doing right now. So it will be, unfortunately, on the back burner. I do fully hope to be able to bring it back at some point in some way. But for right now, it will be on the back burner. I know that we do have some Movie Battles fans out there, maybe not, the most, but, I know at least our competitors are fans.
Yes.
I know we've got, a few people that watch pretty regularly. So I do want to let you all know that we are going to try to do some things. But, keep your eye on the channel, because we're always doing stuff. Maybe if it's not Movie Battles, there are other things. We've got all of our other podcasts that I mentioned, last time. You can check out those. But we also, for the trivia person out there, if you haven't already noticed, because I have already done 2 full episodes, we have introduced a new show. That is, of course, the FCL flashback, where basically I bring on a guest who had something to do with the FCL. Whether it be right now, it's mostly been players. Right now, I'm starting with those players that I played with, mostly because I know I have a connection with. We have a built-in rapport, stuff that we can talk to. But I am right now putting out the call to anyone that was involved in the FCL. If you know anyone that was involved in the FCL, I will be making a post at some point. I would love for you guys to tag your favorite FCL competitor. But I'm not just talking players. I would love to talk to anybody that was involved with the FCL. I would love to at some point, if he can find time, talk to PLD. I'd love to talk to Dwayne. Honestly, those guys are the ones that got me in the FCL. So I'd love to talk to them. I'd love to talk to Adam Witt. Adam Witt was actually kind enough, and also shout out to PLD for this, for another thing, but Adam Witt was kind enough to resend me some of the promos that we had shot for the matches that we were covering. So he let me, and unfortunately one of them, even though I know it was on Twitter, when I tried to resubmit it to Twitter, it said it was too long. So I ended up having to do some weird, I had to do like a link to Facebook thing, because Facebook would play it fine. But Twitter, it was 1 second too long.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, right? But oh yeah, okay.
I was say I'm seeing Brad.
Yeah, we're
the man behind.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, I would love to talk to Brad Gilmore. Feel free, tag Brad Gilmore. Let him know. I'd love to talk to Steph Sabra. That would be great. Yeah. I know those guys are those two are gonna be harder. They're just a little bit more in demand. They've got their own schedules. They got a lot going on. But I'd love to be able to sit down and talk with them if they can find the availability. I'd love to talk with anybody that was involved. Honestly, I've already been talking to a few other people. Like I said, I've already got Sean Wingblade and the Dynasty David Campbell signed up. I'm not going to say exactly when those episodes are coming out because my schedule's a little nebulous. But those will be coming out probably next month sometime. And I've also talked to the forever FCL champion himself, Travis Fishburne, is also interested. And I'm going to be talking to some other FCL people. So we'd definitely love, like I said, if you have some ideas or a favorite competitor, definitely want to get Elena Jordan on. Everybody loved Elena Jordan. So definitely love to talk to her. In fact, both episodes that we've done of that, both people have listed her as someone that they wanted to play had it continued. So,
well, she was just such a fun personality to have her energy was so infectious the entire time.
Yeah. And, like I mentioned, there's a reason that, I think she won like one match, but that didn't matter. They kept bringing her back because she was so much fun. And yes, it helped that she was available, but she was also just so much fun to work with, fun to watch. And I honestly wished that I had gotten the chance to work with her more. I'm not going to say it because I've said it on both episodes, but, there was a slight, hint at the idea that she might have wanted to play me. And I was like, that would have been great. So
thinking about the dynamic of the two of your two characters would have so many
phenomenal. That would have been so great. But for anybody that is not watching FCL Flashback, I do want to kind of give you, kind of an insight into what we're doing over there. And then Megan, you did the stats for the FCL. So I would kind of like to have just a mini FCL flashback kind of with you, if you don't mind. Yeah. In fact, we'll put this back up towards the end, but we can go ahead and throw this up for a little bit, just to give it a bit of a feeling. But, on the FCL flashback, and I mentioned it in the last episode, there are 3 things that we always want to talk about. Number 1, what was the FCL as it existed? What was your experience in the FCL? What were your matches like? How did you enjoy the promos? All of that kind of good stuff. And then number 2, big one, what might have been? Because none of us knew that the second season wasn't coming.
Right.
So in fact, we got an email in, I think, like March or April from Brad and PLD being like, guys, we're still working on plans. We will let you know when we know we want this to happen. They were holding out hope. And because, it was only a couple months later that we found out that, the Schmodown was closing down, much less anything else.
Yeah. And I know from being also some of my insights into the MTS side of things, as well as the FCL, I think there was a lot of, we were all hoping that things would turn around at any point.
Right.
But it was kind of one of those, we were seeing the writing on the wall, but none of us wanted to believe it. Until it was finally like, we kind of hit a wall where it's like, okay, no, I really cannot keep this going. And we have to come up with some way to tie things off.
And what's unfortunate, and I'm not saying the Schmodown didn't deserve this. Obviously they did. But the Schmodown got a commiseration. They got to kind of go out on a high note and number 1, announce, hey, the movie trivia Schmodown is ending. It sucks, but we love it. We miss it. All this kind of stuff. The FCL was on hiatus. We didn't get an announcement. The FCL is closing. It sucks. We're going to do one. No, we didn't get any of that. So that's one of the big reasons that I am doing this, because one of the big things that I miss from the FCL, it would have been great to play and everything like that, but I miss the people.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. I have more friends now. Yes, I haven't met most of them in real life, but, I have more friends now because of things like the FCL and the Schmodown, and yes, also movie battles. Right. But, because of those things than I did before, even before pandemic. And, that is because of these things. And so I just would love the opportunity to reconnect. And also just a warning to all of those people out there. Every time you come on, I'm going to invite you on one of my other podcasts. It's going to happen. It's just
he's sneaky that way. I figured that out pretty quick.
Yeah. I'm like, I got a network. I got to keep things going here. I can't keep having the same 3 guests on everything.
Hey, that's just smart business here.
Instead, I'll use the same 10 like the FCL did for the last few match weeks. No,
they
had more.
We do what we got to do.
I will say a lot of that, though, was because, and, they straight up told us, well, you guys are the ones that said yes. So we were like, I'm fine with that.
There you go.
I started in June. They ended in October. I ended up with 4 matches.
Nice.
Yeah. So, it's great. So, Megan, like I said, you did have some involvement with the FCL. We do obviously want to talk, a bit about your stats, but just kind of your lens on what was going on in the FCL. Like, what was your view, not only as, the stats keeper, but just as a fan of the FCL? What was your view of the FCL as it was?
So it was one of those things that it was a nice extension of the MTS. It was, and I understood where people were saying like it was kind of like quote unquote minor league, but it was just an extension, another avenue of people to show off their trivia prowess. And it was kind of the ability of PLD and everyone who was writing questions to kind of play around with some different types of categories that weren't approved yet in the main MTS league. So it was really interesting to see the different kinds of things that they could ask about, the different level of questions that they could ask, because they did have an Intergeekdom league. They had Star Wars. They had their main singles division. It was its own little microorganism that was also still connected to the rest of it. And I appreciated them kind of even expanding into the wrestling stuff, because that was a world that I wasn't really familiar with. Like, I understood the concepts, but it was cool to get to kind of hear about that stuff from people that were in the space.
Yeah, honestly, I told them, I was like, if you guys ever need somebody else for that, I will play the hell out of that. Because most of the questions that yes, there were a couple here and there that I was like, I'm not quite, but I knew most of those. The ones that the wrestlers played, I was like, oh, come on, guys, seriously. But to your point, it did start off as specifically a developmental league for the Schmodown.
Yeah, I know that was kind of the word that was getting thrown around as well.
Right. But
which was fair.
At a certain point, honestly, by like the last 2 months, Christian basically said, we're going to use some people, but, Schmodown's going full in person. So if they can't be in person, they're going to just stay in the FCL.
Right.
And so at that point, but honestly, even before that, I feel like we'd already started to kind of distinguish ourselves as like our own online league anyway. Right. Yes, the questions started off easier, but they got harder. Believe me, I know.
Oh yes.
I would say watch, but you can't find it anywhere. But if you can remember my last match, there's a reason that two of the players with typical high scoring matches, my average, actually my first 3 matches, I did not score under 7 in round 1, and I ended up with 4 points in round 1 because they increased the difficulty on us and we weren't expecting it.
Right.
Oh, awesome.
I was gonna say,
we mention her, and here she is.
There she
Elena
is.
Jordan. Or Elena. I'm so sorry. I never can remember how to pronounce your name. But we're talking right now about a show I'm doing right now, the FCL Flashback. Mentioned you because you have been mentioned on all of them as someone that everyone wanted to play. So I will definitely at some point. Oh, Alana. I think that's what I said, right? That's what I said the first time.
I thought I heard it both ways, so I'm sorry.
I said Alana, then I said Elena. I'm not sure. But so I'll definitely be reaching out to you at some point because we definitely like to talk to you on FCL Flashback about your time in the FCL. Okay, Elena. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. All right. Yeah. All right. So we'd definitely like to have you on. That would be great. That would be great. But so okay. I've actually not seen Terror Train, so I wouldn't know. Yeah.
I'll say I don't have a reference for that either, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sorry. I know you're trying to help us, but
all right. But yeah, so they wanted it, we were kind of already setting ourselves apart. And like you said, we were delving into things that the MTS was not willing to delve into. Star Wars, they had, small screen Star Wars, which they've been talking about doing that for seasons.
Right.
And they hadn't done it. So the FCL said, well, we'll do it. And they made it work.
And again, part of that developmental side of like, hey, let's use the FCL as a testing ground to see actually how it goes. Because, to a degree, when you have things that are in person, you have a little bit more stakes in actually making it go over well.
Right.
You have a little less ability to experiment to a certain degree when you do have a little bit higher overhead that you're trying to make sure is covered. Versus online, you can try something, and if it doesn't work, do try something else, and you don't lose out on as much.
Right.
So I understand where they were coming from, but it was really cool that the FCL was able to kind of take those risks and do some of the more interesting things with the trivia.
Oh, okay. Elena, pretty sure I got that right, is suggesting that we do eventually watch Terror Train. I will say, I know they did a remake, and I think that remake already has a sequel.
Oh,
I think both came out last year. Yeah, I mean, I know it was one of those quick horror films that Jamie Lee Curtis did right after Halloween. You know, she did that.
Got it.
Don't watch the remake, Elena says. All right, good to know.
Good to know.
Yeah, the original has David Copperfield in it. That's right. I did know that. All right.
I say, and horror is not generally my jam when it comes to genres, so that's why I'm not surprised that I haven't seen this one.
Right. Yeah, but she did that and Prom Night, and obviously she did at least she did the second Halloween sequel and stuff like that. But yeah. So let's see. So as far as but what I was saying before with them trying new things, they also I love the fog. Sorry, Elena keeps getting us off track.
I see that. It's fine.
I love the original Fog from the 80s. I got introduced to that through 80s All Over. Thank you, Drew McWeeny and Scott Weinberg.
There you go.
Wish it would come back. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, they also were trying things through storyline. Yes, I get some people didn't like it. But I actually really liked the wrestling angle that they did with this whole Zaflirt and Flaus.
Yes.
Championship win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get why people didn't like it, but I also get why, it really was kind of the best thing they could do. They just named a new champion, and he had already been claimed, by the Schmodown.
Right.
What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
With that? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And it gave you a chance to have a champion, but then that entire rest of the season, it was who was going to go and dethrone Flaus.
Right. And I will say, and they even mentioned this in a lot of the recaps that they put out at the end of the season, they never intended him to hold on to it that long. They always intended to be able to get him a new competitor, a new challenger. Unfortunately, schedules just didn't work out. And so they ended up, which unfortunately meant that the main event of Warfare was a foregone conclusion. Nobody wanted that. It was, it wasn't what anybody wanted. But at the same time, I appreciated the moxie to do that storyline.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
From a guy coming from a wrestling background, I loved it, storyline-wise.
Well, and I would leave it to them to fully explain it, but, I guarantee Brad and PLD were just giggling behind the scenes, seeing all this roll out, both of them being such big wrestling guys.
Sure.
So I definitely understand where it was coming from, and they would understand how to actually do it well. Because in the hands of somebody who didn't know wrestling very well, it would not have gone over as well as it did.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the way that they introduced it was brilliant. It was perfect. It was well done. But I don't know if, honestly, the Schmodown wasn't in that place at that time. But I also wonder, because they were definitely, maybe not that season, because they were definitely still in the factions era. It was definitely more sports related. So, none of the managers would have allowed that. But I also wonder if Christian would have felt comfortable doing that. type of. I mean, he did the Rachel plays a match by herself storyline.
We did do that, yes.
Yeah.
And there were definitely some things in those early seasons before things got as competitive that definitely were more in that vein.
And I get the argument that, it cheapens the trivia. It cheapens the actual match. I get that argument. But the matches that were played legitimately. They came to their natural conclusions. It just so happened that the guy that won had already been called up. He wasn't going to stay. It just didn't. I mean, they could have done a thing that they've done in NXT and I guess had him play in both. But for one reason or another, they decided that wasn't the way they wanted to handle it.
Right.
So instead, they decided to hand it off to somebody. I mean, I think it would have been more of a slap in the face to hand it to anyone else. Because with the Flirt and Flouse, it's an obvious storyline. It's an obvious joke. Clearly, to anyone else, it would have felt just like an unearned championship.
I get it. Yeah.
And I think they would have felt bad about it. But because the Flirt and Flouse was a character by very definition, which, by the way, if anybody thinks that I could possibly get Brett Sheridan on, I would love to talk to him about this. Because I'm sure he has a very unique perspective on the FCL. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe that would be the equivalent of, now I can't even remember his name. But, the guy from Scream, David.
Again, horror's not my thing, so I can't help you on this one.
Help me out in the chat, guys. Dewey, the guy who plays Dewey.
Goodness gracious,
David Arquette.
I was going to say we've had a recent film. I should just be able to pull it just from.
I don't think that's a flirting. I don't think that Brett is the equivalent of David Arquette. If anybody doesn't get that reference, David Arquette was actually made WCW champion at one point, and the fans hated it.
Yeah, I don't think it was quite that bad.
Hated it. Yeah.
Well, I think because he was already.
Thank you, Elena. Yeah, she gave us David Arquette.
There we go. He was already, because the Flirt and Flouse was already such a personality on the SEN network prior to FCL. I think that also kind of gave a little bit of a credence of like, this is already a wrestling shtick.
That's why he worked in the FCL at all.
Right.
Because he was already established. I mean, he'd already been established in the Schmodown as well. He played a match against Kevin Smith, so yeah. I mean, I think, like I said, I'd love to talk to him if he'd be willing, but I do think, again, I think they were in a tough spot, and I think that they made the best chicken salad that they could out of it.
Yeah. And like, it kind of one of the, I guess maybe one of the last things I'll say, like from the stats side of things, like I made the joke when the first rankings were put out by the FCL. I'm like, I had nothing to do with this, because people were like going all hee-haw about like, oh, these aren't actually correct. Like, why is this person ranked? And like behind the scenes, I had a conversation with PLD who explained his reasoning for, propping people in certain positions. I'm like, okay, sure. I get it. My stats brain was twitching.
Yeah, sure.
like I can't stand this. But again, that's the line that the FCL and the MTS has always walked between legitimate sport statistics and wrestling promotion and entertainment. Sure. It has always been the line that these brands have tried to walk. And so far, in the times that they've been around, they have both walked those lines very well.
Well, and you and I have had similar conversations about movie battles. I've had to be like, well, based on their stats, technically this person is here. But if I put them against this person, that's going to be a blowout, and that's not going to be a match worth watching.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's just those kind of conversations that you have to have because you're dealing with. It's one thing in sports where you have a constant measure and metric that you can consistently measure someone by.
Right.
Trivia matches are not designed to be completely equal and fair. Mm-hmm. We do our best, but again, you have people with gaps in knowledge that you may not necessarily realize. And it's unfair to weight things to a particular person, so you have to give them a wide breadth of knowledge.
I mean, to just to clarify, it's never intentionally unfair.
Exactly.
It's just as you said, sometimes we don't realize this person has not seen that movie, or I mean, bring it back to movie battles. And we had a competitor that straight out refused to watch Soul. She kept getting Soul questions. Well, that's not our fault,
right? And again, it's not necessarily. Again, it's not the idea of you are always going to consistently get this number of questions about this movie, this number of questions about that. Like, that is never guaranteed in a trivia match. Whereas if you're talking about sports, you know that you're going to be getting this amount of weight, you're playing this amount of time. But again, even in sports, you have someone who is just having a bad day and their stats get skewed one way or another, and you have to figure that into your ranking and calibration.
Sure.
So it's never been an exact science when it comes to stats, even as much as we would like it to be.
Sure.
It just can't be, because you always have the human factor that is going to give you some odd variables at times.
Sure. Well, I mean, we have kind of already talked about like what was in the FCL. Obviously, if you have anything else, you think of something, feel free to throw it in. But I do also, want to move on to what might have been, especially from a fan's perspective. Yeah, obviously the players had, hopes and ideas, and I mean, they announced a teams division.
I was going to say that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest thing that I was looking forward to. I was like, ooh, we're going to dive into teams. This is going to make it so much more interesting. That was what I was most looking forward to.
So did you have anything did you do any fan casting of ooh, I want to see this, or ooh, it'd be fun if this match happens or that match happens? What were you hoping to see in season 2?
I would say I don't recall any specifics that I really wanted to see. What was interesting was seeing the buildup of the factions within. So you had, and now I'm just blanking on the names, what you were a part of as the Flying Cow. That was
the Sinister Syndicate.
The Syndicate. That was what it was. I was like, Syndicate? What was the rest of it? So that buildup was going to make things very interesting. Then you had the European side of things.
We had just added Maxwell.
Yes, you had.
That was announced during Warfare that we had added him.
Yep.
And then, I will say he had been practicing with us. We'd been helping each other for months before it was formally announced. So we got to actually work together, but he only in that one episode was it. And so I was like, man, we'd already decided we were going to be Team Mad Cow.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yep. That would have been good.
So yeah, it was just lots of could've, should've. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when and I think just from a standpoint of what could be, as a stats person, I always want more data. So I was looking forward to having more things to kind of sift through and seeing what patterns start emerging, what kind of potentials can I see in competitors based on past performances. Those were always things that someone who has a statistical mind is going to say, oh, I want more data. Give me more points to compare. But yeah, as far as specific team ups, I don't recall any in particular, but yes, the Mad Cow was definitely one that was gonna be.
The Addams brothers were already
They were already announced.
Yeah.
So it seems obvious that likely we would have probably wanted to see Addams versus the Mad Cow, just because that was already starting to get set up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in our heads, that was going to be the first team's match.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be the debut of season 2.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think
in fact,
that was.
we all still want that match. We want that match has to happen at some point.
You know what? I'm sure I'm sure there are questions floating around that we could do some kind of backdoor situation where we can make something work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. I mean, not a whole lot to talk about as far as like what is now, because that's beyond the FCL. I mean, you are doing your own things, but we'll talk about that more at the end of the broadcast kind of thing. So I mean, for anybody that hasn't seen any of the FCL flashbacks, this is kind of a peek into like what they are. Obviously, Meg's coming from a different perspective, more of a fan, but also from the stats perspective. Had a little bit of back scenes knowledge of how things were working. And like I said, I'm looking to get those points of view as well. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I also want Adam Witt. Love to have Adam Witt on. Oh, okay, I did. Like I said, he helped me get the promos for my matches, which will be playing, which will be re-releasing on my Twitter as I announce each one that's coming out. At least for the people that I played, I don't really have. I mean, I don't know. He might give me some promos from other people if they have a particular one that they'd like. But I will say PLD has also helped me with some information. He didn't tell me if I could or couldn't say, so I'm not gonna say what exactly he's helped me with, but he has helped me with a little bit of prep. So kudos to him for that. Just once again, a shout out to the fans out there. Feel free to tag your favorite FCL competitors or anybody associated with the FCL, because I want to have as many of them on as we can. Even if they didn't have that many matches, we'd love to have them on, pick their brain, and see what it was like for them. Because, I mean, I know, there were a few players that were announced for being in the FCL the next season, and then it never happened. I know, Nikki Baldwin was an odds-on favorite. A lot of people wanted to see her in the FCL.
There was a lot of us that were.
I was championing her so hard. I was like, look, there really is no reason that I should be here, and she's not. I mean, I'm not putting myself down or anything, but especially in a broad sense, her new movie knowledge, is
having worked
beyond
with her
mine a bit. Yeah,
having worked with her on other things as well, definitely I can attest there was a lot of good knowledge in that head. And she was willing to play ball when it came to the character stuff too. So
I mean, you just have to watch movie battles to know that. Yeah, because she played a great, pardon the phrase, but chicken shit heel during her championship run. She, as much as you can do that in a trivia match, she made that work. Really, the way that she was just naturally acting gave me an idea for a whole storyline. If it hadn't been for her, I don't know that the Hammer ever would have come back. For anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, like I said, the movie battles, it's available on the YouTube channel. We've got 2 whole seasons there. It's not, we're not bringing it back at the moment right now, but there's 2 whole seasons that you can watch. There's some great stuff there. There really is. So I encourage anybody there to check it out. I do want to bring this up. somebody mentioned David Arquette was great in Scream. You're right. I will say, and Megs, you said horror's not really your genre, so I'm assuming you haven't seen most of the Scream movies, if any.
No, I know of them and kind of general information, but
Sure.
I don't have intimate, like having sat down and watched through them. No.
Sure. I will say, I actually started a rewatch a couple of weeks ago. I've got a lot going on, so wasn't able to watch them consistently, like one right after another, but I did eventually get through them. And I will say I finished, I haven't gone to the theaters to watch Scream 6 yet. I got a lot going on, guys. It's hard for me to get to the theater unless I've got a friend going with me or something like that. But I did finally I had not seen Scream 5 yet. So I went ahead and watched all the way through to Scream 5. Watched that for the first time last night. And I will say, based on what I watched, and I will say that, some of them just struck me harder than others, but Scream 5 is probably my second favorite. I just really liked the way that they handled it. I mean, Scream 1's definitely my top. After that, oh, wow. Okay, so apparently Elena has seen Scream 6 3 times. So far. Okay. All right. So Elena, you can go ahead, put in the chat. What is your order? What's your order? I'm interested because I'm gonna reveal mine right now. Mine is 1, 5. Okay. And then it's a toss up between 4 and 3. I know a lot of people hate 3. Sorry. There was something about the way that the angle into it that I just really enjoyed. And then 2 was probably my least favorite. Now, it might have been that I have only seen Scream 2 one other time. And when I was rewatching it this time, it just didn't do anything huge to me. It didn't stick out to me. I don't dislike any of them. But it was kind of the most just there for me.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah. Elena agrees. Okay. Yes, it's true. Honestly, I mean, I kind of, maybe people just don't like the meta-ness of it. Oh, I didn't mean to show that one again. But okay, so Elena says that Scream 6 is her favorite so far.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I get that too. She said, yeah. The order changes depending on your mood. I can totally get that. Do you have a lowest, or at least your least favorite? I guess because, like I said, I didn't dislike any of them. Scream 2 was just the one that was the most just there for me.
Gotcha.
But I thought the angle for Scream 3 was really unique. And I thought,
from what I've heard, like it was a departure, but for most people, it was either you really liked that distinction or you really didn't like it. It's polarizing with what they decided to do with it. Is what I've kind of taken away from people's reactions that I've heard. Oh, and also shout out. Speaking of flashback, I just saw Brennan was in here saying hello. So
yes, Brennan is in the chat. Sorry, I'm caught reading here.
I was gonna say she sent us a dissertation over here. So
okay, so basically 1 through 5 are equal for Elena.
Okay.
But 6 is her favorite. All right. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen Scream 6, so I can't speak to it. I will say 5 really got me. So if 5 is anything like 6, then who knows? I might feel the same way. But some interesting talk we have going on here.
Yes.
Some good stuff. Let's see. So, were there any, like, I haven't started it yet, but I do intend to, because I'm also a big Rocky fan, and I know there's the new Creed. I haven't seen it yet, mostly because I intend to watch I do a rewatch of them. But do you have any thoughts on the Rocky franchise?
So I remember, I believe I have seen the first one. It has been a while. So, and I have not, I've been following kind of the talk and the discourse about the Creed films. I have them in my queue list to watch because I do want to watch 1 and 2. And then I would like to watch 3 as well because I've been hearing really good things about this part of the franchise as a whole. I definitely have a appreciation for what the Rocky franchise has done over the years. I understand the discourse about having some favorites, some maybe where things maybe got missed. But again, I think like you, I would appreciate being able to go through and watch all of them and then also catch up with the Creed films because I think they're becoming repopularized now with kind of this re-energizing of the franchise with Creed. Yes, they're kind of taking a detour from Rocky Balboa himself, but I think the spirit of what the Rocky films were in the initial is being carried on in these new franchises, which I appreciate. Taking the things that were good about the original and just tuning them with kind of different characters, a little different spin on things, but still catching some of that what was wholesome and good about the originals.
Sure. Yeah, I will say I love the original Rocky. I think that it's easily the best one.
I think that's pretty much.
I know some people prefer Rocky 2, but in my opinion, the only people that prefer Rocky 2 are those people that just wanted to see him win. And to me, that's never what Rocky was at least the original Rocky was about. So I'm like, I'm fine with them doing a sequel where he wins, but I didn't need that to enjoy the original. It was just about him surviving, proving that he was worth something. That's what the original Rocky is about. And I will say the end of Rocky 2, the last time I watched it, I was like, ooh, this is getting really maudlin and really formulaic and I was like, I can already feel the franchise kind of like turning here. I feel like most of it is actually pretty strong. And then at the end, it's like, oh, Adrian's sick. I got to win for Adrian. And it's just like, I don't think we needed that. Okay.
Well, and I guess maybe the thing is that, do we feel that way because we already have the history of it being redone in modern history?
I just feel like if you compare it to the original, Rocky just felt so honest and straightforward and realistic and grounded. And that last little bit of 2, that last little oomph for him to try to win feels so fake and tacked on that it feels it's the part that feels most like a movie.
I understand. Gotcha.
And then of course you've got 3, which is full on a movie, but it's a fun movie.
I would say they purposefully made it that way. Like that was they weren't trying to be anything else. Like this is just straight up, this is what it is. Take it or leave it.
Right. And then you've got 4, which is a glorified music video about Rocky defeating communism. I will say,
the soundtrack is amazing, and the score is fantastic. But yes,
and there's
that is
a
what
robot. Yeah, for some reason, Paulie has a robot. I will say though, I have not seen Rocky versus Drago. I have heard that it is better. I've not heard anybody say, "Oh, the director's cut is the best one." Okay, nobody. I've heard nobody say that. Everybody has just said it's better.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not a big fan of Rocky 5. I've only seen it once, but honestly, it felt more like a made-for-TV movie than a Rocky movie.
Okay.
6 is good. I mean, it's Rocky Balboa. Balboa. And I mean,
I feel like that was kind of the one that kind of, again, gave it a little bit of a boost back up after.
I think if Rocky Balboa hadn't existed, we wouldn't have gotten Creed.
That's also what I've heard. Yeah. Yes.
I will say the only thing about Rocky Balboa is if you are like a canon person and you pay attention to Rocky 5, it undoes his career-ending injury in Rocky 5.
Okay. Yep.
So it's like
I can take or leave that stuff. Sometimes it bothers me, and sometimes if I know it's coming, I will just choose to ignore it.
Right. And then, of course, Creed is phenomenal. I would put it right up there, maybe just right under the original Rocky.
Okay. Yep.
Creed 2, I think, actually, in retrospect, somehow makes Rocky 4 better. Okay. So we've got somebody in the chat saying that Rocky 4 is the best. That I was about to say. I was wondering, Paulie, why you weren't commenting on this more. Because the moment I said Paulie, I was like, wait a second.
We got a
this Paulie before in the chat. Yeah. But I will say, only because I mentioned them already, but if you want to hear some hilarious put downs, you should listen to what 80s All Over said about I can't think of the guy's name, but the guy who played Paulie, Burt.
It's not Burt Lancaster, right?
No, that's the name that keeps popping in my head.
I know, but like, again, that's the one that pops up. Like, wait,
Burt,
that can't be him.
Geez, why can I not think of this man's name? Come on, Rocky.
Yes, on a Disney Pixar, we are trying to find Rocky actors. This is entertainment, folks. This is what we do.
Yeah. Burt Young. Yeah, if you ever want to hear some hilarious put downs, I think they said something like things like Burt Young looks like a cabbage that's been boiled and then left out to rot. Things like that. Like but then they love Burt Young. But it's just, they're just kind of messing with him kind of thing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah. I mean, and like I said, I really enjoy Creed 2. So and the fact that you've got Michael B. Jordan and why can I not think of his name all of a sudden? Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, Majors.
Which Jonathan Majors has such a charisma. I would watch that man do anything. Like, he's just something about him. He's got this type of this thing that just makes him fascinating to watch. So the fact that they're the leads, I'm like, okay, I have to watch this movie at some point. But I do want to do the rewatch, so I'm going to be working on that. And, we'll see if I get to Screams. I'm sure I'll see Scream 6 at some point. I'm probably going to start my Rocky rewatch at some point, and sometime around there. And at one point I had started a watch of all of the James Bond movies. And I actually
I've not attempted that one.
It took me over 2 years just to get to Daniel Craig. You know where the majority of that time was spent?
Yeah.
Roger Moore. Some of them are fun. Some of them are painful.
Yeah.
I went through the Sean Connery movies like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Sean Connery. What can you say?
Oh, Scream 5 was your least favorite, Elena. Oh, wow.
Interesting.
And I really liked Scream 5. So
I did see earlier she had said if you like Scream 5, you'll definitely like 6.
Okay.
So
all right.
There's a little balance to that there, I think.
Sure. But I mean, I will say, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to give it away for anybody that's watching, but I loved the way that they dealt with Dewey in the film.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And honestly, all of the legacy characters, I think that they did well. And the new characters, I mean, I'm interested to see if they all come back for 6. We'll see. But yeah, going back real quick to my James Bond talk, I watched the Sean Connery movies quick. Took me like a year and a half to get all the way through. I mean, number one, it's the longest reigning Bond, 7 movies.
Yes.
And like I said, not all of those are great. But yeah, it took me a year and a half to get through those. And then I went pretty quick through Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan.
Right.
And I've seen the first 3 Daniel Craigs, but I haven't seen the last 2. So I just at some point want to watch all 5. I will say when I got to him, it was really hard to find all of the others, and I think they're all on some streaming service right now.
I would say I feel like
if anybody knows what streaming service,
several of them, or
they're all on. Let me know in the chat. Yeah, yeah, that's what you guys are for. You're my Google.
There we go. I was gonna say because like I think part of the reason why Bond was never someone that I got into is my parents weren't necessarily Bond fans. You know, we were a Mission Impossible family. We watched all the Mission Impossible films, like, and that was kind of our spy thriller action adventure stuff that we loved.
Polly, you and I are just going to disagree about everything.
Oh boy.
I mean, I will say I don't mind your Scream ranking. I understand you haven't seen 5. Again, I didn't dislike any of them, but Roger Moore, I get a lot of people like him, but Roger Moore is not the best Bond. He has some interesting stuff. He also, though, has some of the most problematic films. So
was that really Bond's fault, or was that a clue of his time?
I mean, it was definitely part of the time. Definitely.
The slide whistle.
Again.
I think you guys might be able to agree on certain aspects of him.
Yes.
We're good. Let us find a middle ground
I honestly liked like the first 3.
Okay.
It was past that I was like, these are tough.
Was it just too much of the same thing, or did they make changes as you went on?
It was. I mean, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. But
well, I mean,
yeah. I mean, you know, the thing about like I said, the first 3 definitely had some connecting, and there definitely were some things that I was like, that's fun. That's a little too silly. Like, there is a Southern sheriff that is present in all of the first 3, at least the first 2, if not the first 3. I will say I did like Christopher Lee as the villain, but that was really the only thing I could latch on to in that movie.
I mean, Christopher Lee, come on.
Yeah.
What else do you need to say?
Yeah. And I will say I did like the way that they ended the Jaws storyline in the space one. Can't think of the name of it off the top of my Moonraker. Yeah,
there we go.
I did actually like the way that they gave him a love interest and stuff. But again, there might have been moments that I enjoyed, but as a whole, I found a lot of those movies a slog. It was just really hard to get through. And from what I've seen, I like most of what I've seen of Daniel Craig.
Okay.
I just haven't seen the last 2. And I know a lot of people say Spectre sucks. I don't know. Maybe it does. We'll see. I'm not going to make up my mind till I get there.
Yeah.
But yes, we will see about that. I will say, just to remind everybody in the chat, do not forget to go to my personal Twitter feed, at Flying Cow, just at Flying Cow, and like and retweet my tweet to let Hershey's and BP know that we do not want maggots in our Rolos.
If you don't know the reference and you're joining in late,
Rolos.
go back to the beginning. We discussed this picture in detail, and
not
a good thing.
Maggot-free Rolos for America.
There we go.
That's what we all want. Absolutely. All right. Oh, well. Right now I haven't posted it anywhere else because that's usually the best way to tag brands is on Twitter. But if I post it anywhere else, I'll let you know, Paulie. All right, but yeah. I mean, was there anything else, Megs, that you wanted to talk about? I mean, I've kind of been, let's talk about this franchise now.
We're just free rolling here. That's great. There's been a lot of like more recent stuff that I haven't necessarily kept up on as far as like the Disney Pixar side of things. If we're going to link it back to the movie battles, which is where I kind of came into this whole wide universe here. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of interesting things going on from the Disney and Pixar brand side of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see how they move forward beyond these last couple of years. So I'm excited and hopeful about all of that, as well as these franchises like Creed, Scream, being able to build things back up and to move forward. With some of the things that have happened over the past few years. So that's exciting for people that are interested in movie entertainment and all of that.
Absolutely. Well, I think that we're getting toward the end of the stream. I think we're gonna start packing it in. But before we quit, I do want to play a little game, Megs. And I will say, those of you in the chat are more than welcome to play along in this game. You can just type your answers into the chat. Mm-hmm. We are going to play. My sister over Christmas gave me a game called Color Brain, and as you can see, it is Disney edition. The idea of this game is basically we name something, and you have to. Yes, I know we just talked about Scream, and now we're playing a game. Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
But we didn't introduce it in the same way. Yeah. Want to play a game? No. Yeah.
But the other reference I get is the war games. Do you want to play a game? That's the one I always think of.
It's true. Well, I think they also say, do you want to play a game in Saw too? So
I'm not sure. I haven't heard that one referenced that way. But yeah,
sure.
Let's just
So basically, I'm going to name something, and then I will show you the colors that are possible, and I'll also say them. Mm-hmm. And you will, and I'll tell you how many colors we're looking for, mm-hmm. and you just tell me which color you think is associated with that item. So first of all, Megan,
mm-hmm.
do we want bag 1? Or bag 2? 1 or 2? 1 or 2?
Let's go with 1.
Bag number 1.
Yeah.
All right. So bag number 1. So I am going to pull 5 cards out of this stack at random. I'm not even going to look at what
phone is going away. No cheating. Hands up.
I am just going to make sure that not all of these are super hard.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think that's a good one. All right. So, now. Well, actually, no, that's a good one.
So for instance, we were talking about this earlier. If we were talking about, say, the item is the Incredibles masks, the answer would be black.
Black.
Because the color of that item is black. So for people who aren't familiar with the game, that's, from my understanding, the quick gist of what it is.
Yes, exactly. All right. So, all right. So I have, I'm just going to tell you the movies associated with the 5 cards that we have drawn.
Okay.
We have drawn Inside Out.
Okay.
Beauty and the Beast.
Ooh, good.
Alice in Wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
Lilo and Stitch.
Mm-hmm.
And Frozen.
Okay.
Okay. So that's in no particular order.
Okay.
So we're just gonna, I will say, I'm gonna save that one for last, just because I think just on a glance it might be the hardest.
Okay.
But the rest of them are all going to be in no particular order. And real quick, I'm going to let you know the color options that you have to choose from. Okay. So we have pink.
Okay.
Purple. Red. We got a few. Blue. Black. Gray. White. Brown. Green. Orange. And yellow.
Okay, so no crazy color names that we have to try and memorize. We're good.
No. All pretty primary colors.
Excellent.
All pretty basic.
No chartreuse or periwinkle.
No magenta. Yeah, no. There's no teal. Ooh, actually, I'm sorry. It's aquamarine.
Right.
No,
yeah.
None of that.
We need none of that in this game.
Yeah. No. Yes. These are all the Disney animated films. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
Polly.
I feel bad about that. Sorry.
All right. You can at the very least listen to us play. All right. So, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start. All right. With number 1. This is from Alice in Wonderland. Okay. And I will say you have 1 color. We're only looking for 1 color. Okay. And the item we are looking for, the Queen of Hearts hair. We have 15 seconds, just like a regular Schmodown match.
All right.
So you can take a second and think about it. When you feel like you got it, you guys can go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm not going to look at the chat. I'm actually pretty good at not looking at the chat. I miss half of what's in the chat.
Well, there you go.
All right. So
I'll say Alice in Wonderland is probably the one that I'm the least familiar with. So this might be a spitball guess, but we'll see.
3, 2, 1, and go.
I'm gonna say that it's red.
Black.
Okay. I'll say it was between red and black.
All right. So that's my guess. We have 1 for black, and then I've got satin from Paul.
Okay, that's fine.
That's great. It is indeed black.
Okay.
She's got the black hair. Yes.
Yep.
All right. So it's 1 for me. It's all right. All right. Yeah. So now, ooh, this is hard. All right. This is from Lilo and Stitch. Okay. We're again looking for 1 color.
Okay.
And the item in question, Stitch's sunglasses frames.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is harsh.
That's a tough one. Again,
I think I might just have to go with my gut instinct. I may just have to go through my gut instinct because
yeah, that's what I'm doing too. I'm like, I think I know, but I might be wrong.
Yeah. I'm just gonna stick with my gut because that's just gonna be because if I try and second guess myself, I might kick myself for it. So we're just gonna stick with this.
Do you want to go ahead and go?
Sure.
All right. Go.
I'm gonna say yellow.
I'm saying red.
Okay.
All right, and red.
Ooh, okay.
Wow. Okay. All right. I honestly wasn't sure if I had that one at all. All right. So
I have a decently good photographic memory, but these are both films that I have either not seen in a long time or have not seen entirely. So
sure. I will say
we're good. I'm cool.
Elena was close in the chat with pink.
Yes.
But pink is also an option, so not quite there. Not quite there. We've got 3 left.
Okay.
All right. This is from Inside Out.
Okay.
1 color.
Mm-hmm.
Main color of Disgust. The character Disgust. Okay. Played by Mindy Kaling.
Mm-hmm.
Character of Disgust. Her main color.
Not looking at the chat.
Right? Yeah. Not looking at the chat. I was about to say, I sometimes see them bubble up and I'm like, okay, they're answering. They're answering. I'm not gonna look at it. I'm not gonna look at it. Just let it sit there. You tell me when you're ready.
I am ready.
All right, go ahead and go.
I'm gonna say she is green.
I also say green.
Okay.
Yes, she is green. She is, in fact, green. So that's 3 for me. Megs is on the board.
That's good. I'm on the board.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So now we have number 4.
Okay.
The film is Frozen.
Okay.
All right. And the question. Jesus. The sash on the Duke of Wesselton's uniform.
Ooh.
Right?
Oh, that's good. I think I know it though, actually. I think.
Yeah?
I think I do. I think I got it.
Oh, I'm just gonna be honest. Straight up guess for me.
Okay.
Straight up guess.
I think this is it's still a guess, but I think it's a fairly well-educated guess.
Okay.
Are we good? You ready?
If you're ready, you go.
I'm gonna say red.
Okay, I'm guessing black or blue. I mean blue.
Okay.
Blue is what the color is what the card says, and it is red.
Because blue is the more Arendelle style. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think his it's either black or like a dark green is his overcoat, and then he's got the red sash.
Well, and you know what? If I had thought about the fact that it said sash, I might have gotten it. I was thinking a scarf. I don't know why, but for some reason I automatically thought, oh, a scarf. I don't remember him wearing a scarf. Maybe it was blue. All right. Okay. All right. So,
hey, Sean. Good to see you.
To 3.
Okay.
All right. So we are down to the final one.
Okay.
And this is 2 colors. So I'm going to say it's worth 2 points.
I was going to say, are we going to count each color as a point?
I'm going to say, especially on this one.
I like
so if you get this right, you could win.
We'll see.
We'll see. Especially if I get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the film is Beauty and the Beast.
Very good.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And the item in question, what color is Belle's winter cape? 2 colors.
Ooh. Okay. Now I have to not think about the live action because that's the one I've watched the most recent. But I think I don't
watch that monstrosity. I refuse.
I mean,
because I'm like the animated version exists, and you know what?
I get it.
The main knock against the live action version, it has 100% less Angela Lansbury and Jerry Orbach.
There you go. I mean, yes, the original is by far my favorite, but I have most recently seen that other one. So that's my only, but I am pretty sure I have it. So if you're ready.
I am ready. Go ahead.
So it is, and I may mess myself up on this one, but I'm going to say it's definitely white, and I'm going to say pink is the other color.
All right. I am saying red and white.
I was going to say, I was like, is it red? Is it pink? How are they going to call it? So you might get me.
No, Polly. Ernie Sabella was not in that movie. All right. I know Ernie Sabella. All right. No. Okay, so the color was red and white. So I'll win.
You got it. You got me.
All right. All right. All right, everybody. So that is the stream for now. Yeah, and I want to thank everybody who showed up, and also all those who weren't here live but are going to be rewatching the stream. Make sure to, like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure up here. Yes, make sure to, you can always contact me at The Flying Cow Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can also email at theflyingcowpod@gmail.com or at theflyingcowpod at gmail.com.
All the ads.
Yes, all the ads. You can also remember to check out the podcast. Anywhere you find podcasts, you can check out our podcast discussion, our Disney podcast, the Flying Cows movie list, where we talk about movies that myself or a guest haven't seen before. Nostalgia Cow, where we relive entertainment from our childhoods. We're about to bring back The Academy, the films of 1930. All right. So we will be, deciding what we believe is the best film of 1930. And don't forget to check out the Patreon, patreon.com/The Flying Cow, where you can find all sorts of exclusive things, including our exclusive podcast, Around the Worrell, where we talk all things Ernest P. Worrell, with my co-host, the litigator Lauren Collins, as was mentioned before. And again, to plug it again, don't forget to check out Movie Battles on YouTube. Some great stuff. Got 2 whole seasons there. If you guys are missing Movie Battles, check out anything that you missed. Maybe you missed something. Some good stuff. But Megs, why don't you let the people know what is you doing now?
I is not doing a whole lot right now. If you go back to the archives of the movie battles, you will see me doing some commentating on some of the matches, as well as some of the previews for some of the tournaments that we were doing. So you'll get to see me kind of in action there. But otherwise, I am not doing a whole lot of other projects. But if you want to be able to touch base with me, I'm at the major socials at Megs_reclaimed. Welcome to try and find me over there. Can't guarantee I'll be an interesting follow, but every once in a while I will post some stuff over there. And who knows, I might pop up on this channel again sometime down in the future. You never know.
Absolutely. But yes, again, thanks to everyone for tuning in, for watching, for enjoying this, and especially those who contributed to the chat. It was a lot of fun. But we will be back next time to do more of this. But until then, moo. Now go home.